The Republican Zone is brought to you by Drew Murray.
Good afternoon. You're watching USALA Media and the Republican Zone. I am your host, Drew Murray. And I'm welcoming my guest from the Republican City Committee, aka the Philly GOP, my good friend, Pete Smith.
Hey, Drew. How you doing, buddy?
Pete,
Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on. This has been a crazy couple of weeks for Philly GOP, Twitter wars. It's been insane. And there's nothing I hate more than social media, but it's a necessary evil, I say. And it has been nuts the past few weeks.
Yes, unfortunately, social media is the only platform when you can act like a big person when you actually aren't.
Yes, I know. If you look at my Twitter handle, your Twitter handle, I mean, mine says Drew Murray on it. On Twitter, though, you can just have these handles that are anonymous. I'm not even going to say that.
You can. I agree with you. You can put anything up there that you want. Again, I go on as myself. I don't have a problem speaking as myself. I don't have to hide behind a fake Twitter handle. In fact, for a long time, I wasn't even on Twitter. I just recently got back on because I was told that I was being insulted on social media, and I had to get on just so I could respond. But it's getting to the point where it's so ridiculous anymore that it's not worth it. And the problem is these people who do this, they would never do this on a platform like Facebook. Exactly.
Yeah. If your name is out there, they wouldn't do it. And then there's two handles. I'm not even going to say their names because I'm not going to give them any credit. But they come on. They do two things. Number one, they do lie. They flat out lie. And then they'll also make insinuations. And the prime example of this is last week when on Friday, flags that were put up in Bridesburg, which is great. I applaud that. They were taken down unexpectedly. And all of a sudden on Twitter, both fake accounts and some with names actually came out and said that the Philly GOP, now you are the secretary of the Philly GOP, they said leadership of the Philly GOP had the flags taken down, that they called PICO, they called the mayor's office. There's been many stories. First we called PICO, then it was changed that we called the mayor's office. Now it sounds like they're saying, well, actually they're going silent now. They were going to have a big announcement. Some of these Twitter handles and some of these people on Twitter were going to have a big announcement on Monday. Who took down the flags in Bridesburg? Well, there was no big announcement on Monday. And I know you've been doing research to find out whether or not there was anything behind these flags getting taken down. When I heard they got taken down, I figured someone called and made a complaint and they got taken down, that there was nothing nefarious about it. But on Twitter and social media, these Twitter handlers and some of the backers of one of my opponents on the ballot this May, this person's followers and people who work directly for his campaign, by the way, were either saying that I had something to do with it or insinuating it, and absolutely saying the Philly GOP had something to do with it. So I know you've been doing some research. What have you found out about the flag removal?
Yeah, and it was the opponent's spokesperson who specifically called out the Philly GOP. Right away, it was, our fault, we did it. The spokesperson gets on, and does a video stating that, he knows everything, but he can't tell you because, someone will get in trouble. So, yes, I did my own investigation as the secretary for the Philly GOP. It's my responsibility to make sure that anything as far as communications or anything like that are, my responsibility. So we were called out. I immediately answered those calls. We denied it. We had nothing to do with it. We would have never done that. Flags are a sacred thing, especially to the Republican Party. Myself personally, on my block, we have 5 flags that have been hanging for over 6 years. It's part of our block committee. We refresh them every spring. We've never been asked or had any issues with PICO. PICO doesn't have a policy on just driving around and removing flags. However, they do have a policy that, flags should be, you should do a permit. You kind of request that you put them up. They send you the specifications of what size flag, what height you can do. And if you fill out those forms, they'll never come down. They won't be classified as illegal. But PICO does not have a policy where they're just going to go around and remove them. However, and working with several city council members, state representatives, we found out that the flags in question on the block were removed because of a 311 complaint of safety. Now, unfortunately, with 311, it's anonymous. You will never know who called it in, but it goes to the whole story of, all these lies and everything that are done on Twitter, that the Philly GOP is, this horrible organization. We do all this stuff. We're the evil empire. You have to kiss our ring to get anything, which is complete nonsense. It's just, people out there who don't realize what we do as a party and what we have to go against. I mean, in honesty, the Republican Party is, 7-1 in registrations, Democrat to Republican. So it is very tough to be elected as a Republican. I myself, went after a city council seat. And despite the fact that my opponent was under a federal indictment and awaiting trial, I still lost. I did very well. I'm proud of the campaign that I did, but I still lost. And that was mainly due to the fact that a lot of people don't even know who their city council person is, and they vote party, straight
Absolutely. Party. It's an uphill battle.
But this big conspiracy that this was at the highest levels of the Philly GOP working with PICO is absolutely false. It was a 311 complaint that was made by somebody. Absolutely. Could have been a neighbor. It could have been a member of the Philly GOP. It could also have been a disgruntled member of the Philly GOP. It absolutely could have come from, say the Working Families Party to cause a little dissension. It could have also come from the campaign of it, our person we're, campaigning against. Yes. Our opponent. We don't know. We'll never know. But there was this big conspiracy, and it's kind of ridiculous that you can get away with making these accusations without any proof.
And we're not going to say who we think did it because we don't know who did it. And if we don't have proof on who did it, we're not going to say it. We're not going to insinuate it because when the flags came down, it was very emotional for a lot of people in Bridesburg. So when accusations were made by numerous Twitter accounts, some anonymous, some not, people believed it. And when you have someone coming on Twitter saying, I have the information, I know who did it, but I can't tell you who my source is, that means I can't tell you, where I found out this information, meaning I do not have proof of what I am saying. So it's dangerous to make those insinuations. The people who lived on that block in Bridesburg, or the people in Bridesburg who loved those flags and were upset that they came down, and who were attacking me, honestly, some of which were attacking me on Twitter, they didn't know. They believed it. These are good people who love the American flags on their block. And when they got taken down and they were told by people they trust, oh, well, this was the Philly GOP. This was mostly insinuations about me. This was the Philly GOP leadership and tell Drew Murray to have them put back up, when I had nothing to do with it. And I could say with 99.9% knowledge that the Philly GOP didn't do it. Insinuations are dangerous, and people believed it because it was an emotional thing. People were so upset that they came down, and someone they trusted told them something that was either a lie or at a minimum something that they could not verify, both of which are dangerous. The former is deplorable. To flat out lie is absolutely ridiculous, but to state something as an insinuation and that you have it on good, on reliable sources that this is what happened is ridiculous and unethical. And it's something I would never come on here and say, I think this, so therefore it is. If you're going to say something, have proof. And that's why we can't say who took the flags down. We don't know. We might have some thoughts and ideas on who did it. Honestly, Pete, I think it was a person on the block who asked to take him down. Whether
it's like I said, we don't know. And And Drew, if I don't know if the engineers could, if they could just turn you up just a little bit, it kind of faded back down. But yeah, here, I'm coming on the record right now telling you that there is documented facts from PICO that this was from a 311 call. 311 called PICO, and PICO is instructed if they are contacted by the city 311 system, they have to look up whether the flags are authorized or not. If they're not authorized, they have to go there and they have to remove them. It's initiated by the city. So, like I said, I'm coming on here, I'm telling you for a fact that that is what happened. I'm not telling you that I can't tell you because someone's going to get fired in the next minute. No, this came straight from city council, it came straight from state representatives, and it came directly from PICO. These flags were a complaint made by an individual or individuals that the flags were unsafe. PICO investigated to see if they were properly installed, which they were not, and they took them down. And you know what the sad part is, Drew? The only person who really got hurt in this whole thing was the family that the flags were put up for. You know, this woman who, you know, up until last Friday was a good friend of the Philly GOP, you know, now is not. And, you know, this is something that was done to honor her son, which I think is great. You know, anyone who serves our country, I applaud them. Any parent that has to go through that to know that their, you know, their son or their daughter is going to be put in harm's way. I think it's great. It's admirable. The Republican Party, I mean, our policy is we would never remove or destroy a flag, and we encourage everyone to put up an American flag wherever they were. Unfortunately, in this situation, something was done to either attack one person or multiple people or whatever, but one individual got hurt on this, and it destroyed a reputation that I hope that we can, you know, get back, you know, with her. She's, you know, the mother of this soldier is a great person. You know, she's done a lot with the Philly GOP. We would never, and I mean this to, you know, we would never do anything to hurt her because she's looking favorably towards one candidate over another. It's just wrong. This whole thing was wrong. The accusations were wrong. Everything was wrong. And as Secretary of the Philly GOP, I spent my entire weekend working on this ridiculous thing, you know, because of the accusations that were made against the Philly GOP.
And unfortunately,
one more thing, Drew.
Sure.
And the reason that you're being attacked is because you're on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And believe me, if I was in the middle of a campaign, I would not be on Twitter. I let it roll off of me most of the time. They've been attacking me for months. It doesn't bother me that much. It bothers my wife, but I have to tell her not to respond. And most of it is ridiculous, and I just ignore it. But when they tell lies and say that I was part of a plan to remove flags when I had nothing to do with it, I didn't even know the flags were down until I got a text. I actually wasn't even on Twitter that day. I don't spend my day on Twitter. Most of the time during the day, I'm working. But I got a text. They said, you need to go on Twitter. You're being accused of something. And I normally don't respond. But this time I did. I responded. I said I had nothing to do with this. And I think now that we know more, it looks like someone on the block or someone in the neighborhood made a phone call. It wasn't a Philly GOP person. It most likely wasn't a person from any campaign. It just happened. But another campaign seized an opportunity. And it's unfortunate because people were hurt. And I don't blame, a lot of people were upset at us. People were calling me a loser on Twitter. I'm not upset at any of them. The people of Bridesburg who believed this lie, they just believed a lie because people who they trusted told them. And again, whether it was a lie or they just thought it was a possibility, they seized an opportunity. And it's disgusting. It's not the only time they've done it. They've attacked me. And actually just this morning, they put up that I take money from a progressive environmental PAC. The PAC they are referring to is Save Your Generation PAC. If they did any research, they would notice that the PAC donates to Republicans, to me, to other Republicans, honestly, to Republican City Committee. It is not an environmental PAC at all. And honestly, I consider myself an environmentalist, so I wouldn't care anyway. I wouldn't take money from a progressive PAC, but they just didn't do their research, Pete. It's a punk rock song. Save Your Generation is a punk rock song. And the Republican ward leader who runs the PAC, he's now a former Republican ward leader, he just stepped down recently, he liked the song. So he named it after a punk rock song. And because they think it sounds quote unquote progressive, that's what they say. And those are lies. And it's a flat out lie saying it's a progressive environmental PAC. Most, if not all, of the donations go to Republican candidates or Republican committees like the Republican City Committee in Philly. But that's what they do. They put out lies, they put out insinuations, and these insinuations specifically about the Save Your Generation PAC are anonymous Twitter handles.
Right, exactly, because they're not brave enough to put themselves out there. And it's a horrible thing that it's even allowed. I mean, I've made multiple complaints about, I think it's like 6 or 7 different fake accounts that I call them. They're not fake, they're anonymous accounts. They use these goofy names. They attack, they're attacking on both sides, and it's wrong. Twitter should stop it. It's ridiculous. I'm been attacked every day. They go onto my Facebook, they take pictures off of Facebook of me, and they mock them up, or they use them as their own profile picture. They're just a bunch of cowards. And, and it's unfortunate these, they blame the Philly GOP for this, but this is us answering to those attacks. This all started, right after, actually a week before the special election, when you and Jim Hasher ran for city council at large. Then all of a sudden, these Twitter accounts came out and they start attacking the GOP. They make stupid insinuations. They make these comments that have no factual basis. They can never back them up with anything. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm on here today with factual information, what my sources were and what the outcome was. But, you and I will both be attacked on Twitter probably in the next, hour, because we're discussing this topic. Sure. But honestly, it's the terminology, a drowning man grabs onto anything. And that's what's happening right now. We have, we have our 5 candidates who are running for city council at large. They are the best chance for us to go into November to beat the Working Families Party. We have a very unified group of people who are running for additional offices. David O. for mayor, Seth Bluestein for commissioner. We have Mark Lavelle running for sheriff, Aaron Bashir running for controller. We have our Philly 5, we call hashtag Philly 5, you guys who are running for city council at large. And that's our best opportunity. And you can say what you want about the Philly GOP, and you can look at past history, and I'll be the first person to tell you that when I ran for city council, I got absolutely no support from the Philly Republican City Committee. I got support from some ward leaders. I got support from you. That's where you and I met. We became really good friends. But as far as the organization of the Philly Republican City Committee, I got absolutely no support. And if anybody should have walked away from the Republican Party after that, would have been me. But, Martina White came in, she took over as, interim when Mike Meehan resigned. I liked what she was offering. I was not a ward leader. I was just a candidate. I had gotten back into the politics with Beth Grossman, but I liked what she had to say. And I told her, I said point blank, if you need me, I'm here. I want to help make this a better organization because that's what I believe in. I believe in the Republican values. She made me a ward leader. An opportunity came up for leadership, which I jumped right on, was unanimously elected as secretary by the entire ward body. Martina had left, our chairman, and, I can tell you right now, Drew, there's been so much unity right now in the party, and we're raising so much money too. Sure. And it's unbelievable how much we've come together as an individual group. And it's one team, one city, and that's what we're doing right now. And we can't be swayed by rogue members who are no longer with the party. We can't be swayed by fake Twitter profiles, and we can't be swayed by these lies.
You're right.
We're going to go out there. We're going to do what we need to do. We're going to outwork them, and then we're going to knock out the Working Families Party, and then hopefully it'll be a new transition as we start to grow the Republican Party.
Absolutely. And I want to mention Linwood Holland as well. Register of Wills is running for Register of Wills.
Yeah, Linwood Holland. I know I was forgetting somebody.
That's okay. No, it's tough. We have a lot. Look, we're trying to put a lot on the slate because that's how we're going to try to build this party. And we're trying to build this party from within. And there are others from outside of the party who are trying to break it down and destroy it in the hopes of, quote unquote, rebuilding it from the ground up. We're just trying to rebuild it. We're doing it the right way. We're doing it the honest way. You can look at my campaign. I don't talk negatively about people. I only respond when I have to respond. Jim Hasher is the same way. No one is coming back at these anonymous Twitter accounts with anything negative. The only time I've ever responded was once when they lied and they said I had a part in taking down these flags. And believe me, I almost didn't respond. I waited 24 hours because even though I was upset and I was frustrated, I waited 24 hours. I took a deep breath. It's like an email. You don't send an email when you're upset. You don't send a text when you're upset. You wait 24 hours. And you think about what you should say, and you put it out there. So I didn't accuse anyone in my response. I didn't say this person did the flags. Because I don't know. We don't know. When you don't know something and you have no proof of something, you don't put it out there on social media because it's irresponsible. Plain and simple. Unless you know for a fact, don't put it out there. You are a fake reporter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't because it comes right back to you. I mean, I immediately responded. And I put myself on the line and told, a radio personality that I would investigate this. And I even put myself out there saying if it was, I found out that I would resign. That's how passionate I was about this. But these lies are ridiculous. And these other lies, too, that we're putting up fake candidates is ridiculous as well. And we have a process in the Philly GOP. If you want to be a candidate, you have to meet with ward leaders. You have to tell us what you're offering, and then we endorse you or we don't. Now, when the special election came around for the council at large, you, Jim Hasher, and 3 other individuals came in and interviewed with the ward leaders, and we chose you and Jim Hasher. And you both did phenomenal jobs in the special election. You received more votes for city council at large of any Republican ever in the history of the race. And that's one of the reasons that both of you were early endorsed for the city council at large. Then we had other, committees where we had 3 other people that we chose. Gary Grisafi, a great guy, ward leader, worked a long time in city council under constituent services. So he understands the process as well. Mary Jane Kelly, worked for the court system. Now she's, working for the Phillies organization as a part of, I believe it's District Council 21, where she's vice president, in the Phillies organization. Great person, gives a different perspective. Yes, she's a senior, but she's a woman and she knows, what it's like in the city and she wants to do better. Frank as well is another great guy, unbelievable guy, is a longtime committee person, down in the River Wards. He's a board member of the United Republican Club, former engineer, worked for the parking authority, and now him too. He retired from the parking authority because he wants to get into public service. I mean, these guys are here, and they're the 5 people who have the best chance for us to win those 2 seats back in November. Despite what anybody says, I don't want to hear it's not your time, which was complete and utter ridiculous stuff, because you can't say that when you were a former candidate, okay? And there's no ring. I mean, here, you want my Irish clatter ring, you want to come kiss it, you come see me and we'll kiss it. It don't work that way. You interview, it's like a job interview to a bunch of managers, which are ward leaders. And if we like you, we're going to support you and we're going to endorse you and we're going to do everything we can to get you elected. And like I said, there is so much unity right now There's no backstabbing. There's no nothing like that. It's all rhetoric and stuff that's coming from a failed campaign. So.
And if you don't, exactly, and if you don't interview, you're not going to get endorsed. So, and we have a plan, and we, you know, the five of us, our goal is in November to get out the 2 Working Families Party candidates, and that's the plan, and we're united behind that plan. So, all right, I think we're coming to an end, Pete. I think you told me right about 20 of, so I think that's about where we are. So I want to thank you, Pete Smith, Secretary of the Philly GOP, the Republican City Committee. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Drew, I appreciate it. You know, like I said, we're going to do everything we can to get you and, you know, elected in the city council. And, you know, we have a great opportunity with some of the other row offices. There's so much dissension right now in the sheriff's office that, you know, we may be able to get, you know, Mark Lavelle in there, which would be great. Same thing with Register of Wills. There is absolutely there's so much shady stuff going on there. A guy like him would go in there and clean it all up. Aaron Bashir is phenomenal with finances. You know, that's what he does for a living. He'll track the money and he'll find all the corruption and everything like that. And with Seth Bluestein, he's done such a phenomenal job with voter integrity since he took over for Al Schmidt. So it looks really good, and I'm very happy and excited about what's going to happen. And we'll have a great primary in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I can't wait for May 17th. I'll be honest with you. I'm ready for, I'm ready to take one day off and then we'll be on to the general.
There you go. You're right back at it May 18th.
Right. That's right. Well, thank you for coming on. You've been listening to USALA Media and the Republican Zone. I'm your host, Drew Murray. Have a great day.
The Republican Zone is brought to you by Drew Murray,